So I'm doing something extremely rare here. I normally do these sorts of streams with, I guess, Genshin Impact gameplay or Wuthering Waves or something like that. Um, Anytime I'm feeling philosophical in some way, that's kind of where I go, but I just spent, you know, pretty... pretty long, like, say almost 40 minutes. Oh hey, I won my last game. Just kinda thinking things about my life in general in the past few years, because past few years is where I've seen the greatest personal change in myself, and I'm always trying to reflect to see, you know, what can be done better, you know, what are some qualities that I want to bring to the forefront of my personality, what are some things I want to leave behind, what's going to help people the most wherever I go, you know, how do I be who I am and at the same time be what the people around me need me to be. And how to find the proper fusion of those two things. So while I was thinking that, I was trying to, I always try and tie it back. Somewhere else. And it was an application, I guess, to my story, where I'm trying to figure out for my main character, because she's the least well written out of any of my characters, for sure, out of anyone who's of any importance to the story. She's kind of the one that's been unintentionally left behind, not for lack of effort. Oh great, that's exactly what I wanted to see happen on my lovely Thursday night. Okay, well, I don't need you. What do I need? I need to not be around you. If I see a gun, I'm gonna jump at it. Beautiful. Why am I lying? Good question. Don't know.
Good work. Now, I want to see what you're capable of.
Well, that's a little unfortunate. So, yeah, she is the least written of my important characters. And I was trying to figure out, a little exercise I did in my brain just now was how do I, well, not really a how, but like, what's a way I can make her make sense, pretty much no matter where I put her. So I said, I know what I'll do. I will try and place her in different arcs of anime and manga, and it didn't seem to be working all that well for a little while. Because she is kind of a unique character. And she's unique enough, but also on the cusp of being extremely bare bones, and it is super hard to know, you know, to which side I'm veering. She's extremely hard to write because of the purpose she serves and how specific it is. Because she does a similar thing to what I believe I do in the real world, where I'm good at infiltrating any space and kind of blending in, but at the same time standing out. It's a really, really difficult balance to explain, but I've gotten it pretty much perfectly. When I'm trying, I kind of have to scope out the atmosphere of the place I'm at for a little while, I'll, you know, see kind of the vibes of the people who are around there, and I will start by trying to reflect, you know, what they do, and then as I progress, I kind of get more. Oh. Alright, that was a choice. I start to bring more of myself out into the forefront, and it ends up surprising a lot of people very often in a pleasant way, where every time, like, even people who have just straight up disliked me from the outset are like, oh, you know, I had one person recently who's like, oh, you know, this kid's hilarious. Like, they totally flipped, you know, their perception on me just by doing that same thing that I always do. And, you know, this character, when I first started creating her, I wanted her to be a almost, not self-insert, I wanted her to be a more perfected version of what I want myself to be. And already, I mean, since she was one of the first, I mean, you know, only someone who's new could come up with something as stupid as that, and think that'll be compelling in any way. But I've still tried to work around that framework, because the story as a whole, at the end of the day, does need her. I have tried to, you know, take her out or make her someone different, and every time I have, it just hasn't quite worked. And so I've kind of been at an impasse for a little while, where I've realized, okay, this story does need her, but, you know, what in the world do I do to make her fit properly within it? How can she fit in the story and enhanced at the same time? And that was just, that's been hell. It has been so ridiculously difficult to see what is at the core of this character, what it should be, what she can even offer, because, you know, once you start having to, you know, borderline make up things for it to work, you get into some really dangerous territory, if you ask me. But thankfully, I'm not like you people, and I am the GOAT, so I get to figure it out anyways. And when I do, people will have no idea that this was such a big deliberation for so long. That is part of the goal. I am extremely good at what I do in my own mind. The only thing I'm not good at is drawing, which is what I'm trying to improve right now, because that's my old medium. It's funny, I have not liked it for pretty much every episode I've seen. I was watching someone react to the Amazing Digital Circus earlier today, just because it's so out of my zone of the things I like. And I like being up on trends, just kind of knowing the stories people are responding to, even if I think the stories are terrible and they suck, which I don't think it's that bad. But to me, it just seemed like it didn't really have that much to offer. Nowhere near enough to merit some of the reaction we've seen, in my opinion. But I was watching it, and one of the characters made a joke about, like, oh, you know, a manga-inspired webcomic that's never gonna go anywhere. And it's like, hey, why are they talking to me all of a sudden? Except for the never gonna go anywhere part. I think it is fun and cute that other people are trying to do the same thing. And I will always say that no matter how stupid an idea is, it can always work. You know, I might not believe in it, but if other people do and they resonate with it, well, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter what I think. Unless it's actually harmful to the sphere as a whole, in which case it does matter what I think. Like, you know, show like Euphoria, I mean, I don't really care that people like that, they're just insane. That show is terrible and it has nothing good to offer the world. Have I seen a single episode? No. Am I gonna? No. Am I gonna keep judging it that way? Absolutely. I'm not as down on Has-Been Hotel as a lot of people are. Certainly not good. I did really like the pilot though, and I believed in it. But once you got to season 1, it was just it felt like the perfect cautionary tale for me, um, of how important it is to avoid rushing things, avoid just throwing a plot together with all the elements there, because you can clearly tell from that universe, and the same word goes for mine, where all the elements of a story are here, and pretty much everything that, you know, everything that I want to say can be said if I just put the pieces in the right place. But it seemed like Viv was extremely quick to try and put all those pieces together, and she just did not think about how to do that in the way that was best for that world, because I truly believe that world was special. I remember even when I was younger and a little more, I don't know if I'd say, I was more straight edge in my Christian beliefs. I was not, I did not act nearly as well as I do now, which is funny, because now that I have a lot more of a cynical view, and I'm a little more open to different schools of thought in a way that I certainly wasn't before. Now I'm acting the part more, rather than when I was a lot more rigid. So I think that's a little interesting. But yeah, so even back then, I was thinking, like, I love the idea that, what if, the sinners could have a way to be rehabilitated and to, ascend afterwards, because it doesn't sit right with a lot of people, and I don't think it's our place, but it is a fact that it does not sit right with a lot of people, that hell is a place that exists, and people go there, and it is eternal. There is suffering to some degree, and I don't really know. Because there are so many interpretations you can go with, and I think the people who are super strong to one side are a little foolish in being that conclusive, and I think that conclusivity is premature. So I was fine with this sort of new take, and I hadn't really seen it done before. I know there's the joke of how this happens in every modern story, or if it's like, what if angels were bad and demons were good? It's like, okay, you're not gonna get a single iota of that in my work, not one. It is in fact the exact opposite. It's surprisingly rigid, and I talked about this with a friend earlier, which I guess it really isn't that important to say right now, but the lines between good and evil are extremely distinct, as far as spiritually, is all I'll say. But I thought it did have some merit, but when it finally came to her writing each episode, every single one just felt so haphazard, and it's like, okay, we have to get the heaven stuff done, and just kind of give the audience kind of the disappointment early, I guess. And I don't know, ever since episode 4 of Hell of a Boss, I kind of understood that they were not going to portray heaven properly, probably ever. My favorite part is when I missed every shot. That's fine. So, it did seem very haphazard, very quick, like she wanted the universe to come together. I think it has to do with realism where there's so many questions that are natural when you start watching a series like that people are going to non-stop ask those questions. And I guess rather than give time to build them up with hype and such, it was kind of all just laid across the table. There was so much like switching of allegiances. They were playing their hand super early on a bunch of new big characters, and I cannot wrap my head around why someone with an idea like that would rush things that fast. And why it ended up feeling so basic. Because the weird thing is I can't really think of another show that's a lot like it, but at the same time, there's nothing special to it. I've heard some people be like, oh, the songs are really good. I've heard a couple, wasn't a big fan of them. I know a lot of people get down on her designs. I'm a fan of some, not a fan of others. I get the criticisms. I think Husk is a fantastic design. But so many of those characters are super one-dimensional. And I think it's a problem with modern writing as a whole, where every time a character has more than one dimension, the writer kind of assumes that means they need to show outward common flaws, and I don't really agree with that at all. I remember after the pilot came out, I had this dream about Hazbin Hotel, and it was like, I think it was my mom was there, or like a different character's mom was there, and there's like this furnace that led to like an old fireplace, more like, like kind of the wood logs on top. It looked a little creepy. It had bricks on it, but it wasn't anything like truly terrifying. And it had something to do with like who Alistair was or where he was from, and he just had this like really imposing presence the whole time throughout the dream. It's like it played the perfect line between not scaring me, but giving me an even deeper like curiosity of like, why is everything around this character so shrouded in smoke and mirrors. And to see that kind of get tossed away to like go into a like earthly backstory, and it just, the way he was presented in that very, what in the world? How did that make a chest noise? Yeah, I guess I have to. At least I have those. But that backstory made him sound legendary, like no other character I've ever seen. And it got me immediately hooked to the point where my mind cooked up its own story about the character. How often does that happen? The answer is never. Yeah, good luck, buddy. I cannot believe he tried that. Now there is probably someone here, but it's fine. Alright. Don't know where he came from. That's fine. So that's just really rare for me to naturally come up with something like that. And it wasn't anything, crazy. There was no, like, deep, lore drop or anything. But it was enough to sort of bring that character to life even more. Dang it. And I think that is a character that was worth bringing to life, especially with his early portrayal. Being someone who just rose up the ranks of a system super fast, I mean, I haven't taken from, that scene specifically, but that is a very similar idea to something that I'm working on. I love characters that kind of just come out of nowhere and shake things up. I think that is hugely interesting. Blackbeard in One Piece, I think, is the best possible example of that. I know there's, other characters like, I guess Cell from Dragon Ball kind of fits that bill. Other characters that kind of shake things up completely. I guess could say almost every single character in Breaking Bad does that, where they kind of just come out of nowhere and are now suddenly a huge problem. Like even someone like Hector, just throw a huge wrench into things. It's also surprising with someone like Gale, where it's like, how in the world would this guy create, any meaningful plot into him being the climax of a huge season? I mean, that was the climax of a season. Every season in that show's huge. But those sorts of characters, they always work. They're always responded to well. And they're just fun to watch. Like, when there is someone that makes you feel like anything could happen, it makes you want to tune in. If you don't have an idea of what you're watching, I think that's always a lot of fun.
You know how to take orders.
If you understand a world well enough to try and,
I need you to do something.
I don't know how to explain this well. It's important to understand a universe enough, to be able to get the basic rules. But when there's someone who can play by some rules and break others, that, one, makes people more curious about your universe's rules. So it, kind of folds in on itself in a really positive way. And aside from giving people more to study in the story itself, it makes them wonder, like, what other things can be shaken up. And if you're willing to do that and shake things up initially, like, there are so many other places you can change and shift, and as the story goes on with different characters, and things can really open up. So having a character like that and reducing them to just kind of another person in the world, I think, is catastrophically stupid. It's kind of like you have a character like Blackbeard and you treat him like Bellamy. And I don't get that. It's
Good
like,
work.
yeah,
You know
technically.
what? Send me the bill. Don't duck my calls.
Search. Oh, that's right.
Or you'll ruffle my feathers.
I remember seeing that earlier. But yeah, so he does kind of have that air about him where he does change things a little bit. It's like, oh, not all pirates are dreamers. But that was kind of a logical step, like, some people in the world think one way, of course other people will think another. Also, I heard some pros saying that these weren't as good as the Shockwaves, and I would really love to know what they're on. Maybe that's Zero Build or something, but these have won me multiple games. Maybe that's just bias since I haven't really used the other thing, but I think I'm going to keep this. Ah, 52 people left. I want to keep him, but I don't see it as being very wise, so I guess I'll drop him off. Yeah, so it's made me really curious about how do I stay away from cheapening a character that fast. And that has been a huge problem with that main character of mine. and trying to figure out how I can make her interesting, but keep her from being a total Mary Sue, and with a character like she is, it is such a difficult balance to strike. Because I would try and compare her to other characters, and of course with the first main characters you kind of compare people to. Well, I guess I haven't compared her to Goku yet, but I've definitely compared her to Luffy. And she is not that same type of character. She kind of seems like it from the outset in the purpose of the story, where both of them are meant to inspire and raise people up and see what, you know, good kind of lies in themselves. And while Luffy does inspire people to rise up, he's always happy to have them kind of follow after him. Whereas she is a lot more of a character who gets things done, not completely by herself, but outside the scope of a crowd. She doesn't really... Crowds tend to follow where she goes, but that's because whatever she's doing is almost always massively important. It's not like she has this massive draw that's completely built in, where, you know, people just... She always happens to do something that, you know, brings a bunch of people around. It's more the things that she's there to do in the first place, I guess, kind of trend that way. It is unreasonably hard to explain, mostly because she's still fairly unwritten. But I was trying to figure out, like, how do I fit in someone who doesn't follow a lot of main character rules. Because a lot of people think Luffy is almost a perfect main character. Of course, he has those stupid quirks that just make you want to stop watching the show altogether. And if you say no to that, you're lying, or are extremely easily entertained. But, you know, he's super popular and captivating for a reason. So, I mean, there's that. And I've just been trying to compare them, and it's like, okay, if they were both in the same points of the story, like, how would they react differently? And the only kind of difficult thing about that is, like, One Piece is very well built solely around Luffy, and I know most works are built around their main character, especially in a format like One Piece where they go to different islands. But, like, take Dragon Ball, for example, and even if Goku wasn't there and you kind of replace him with another character, like Luffy, I don't think can be replaced with anyone. I don't think you can replace him with Zoro. I think Sanji's probably the one you could have the easiest time replacing him with. But that still, you know, that doesn't really work out. With his, we'll say quirks, and leave it at that. But, you know, it's kind of built that way, and with something like Dragon Ball, I feel like you can, in a lot of instances, if, you know, Goku died, and I guess Krillin was the one who beat Piccolo or something, like, you can make that work a lot easier. It's a reason why Dragon Ball what-ifs are so popular, and One Piece theories are more popular. Not a lot of people do Dragon Ball theories because the world isn't really that tightly knit, so there's really no theories you can have a legitimate claim to. Not that I can tell. I don't know if I still have him. I don't really care. But I probably should. Oh, well, I definitely don't have you anymore. This freaking guy. This unlucky duck. Alright, I have that. Huh. How about that? I'm starting to get used to that creepy movement the bot started doing. Yes, I know it's just back and forth, but it's not expected. And expectations matter. So yeah, like One Piece is a lot more tightly knit, so when you come up with a theory, it kind of has to check a lot of boxes, and the more boxes that it checks, the more things it kind of opens up because of the nature of the story. But with, you know, something like Dragon Ball, the characters are a lot more interchangeable. Okay. So either way that I tried to complete the exercise of inserting that character into their spaces, it didn't really work because of the nature of the way they're written into them. So I suppose that will, I guess, help anybody see why writing this character has been so difficult even for me. And when she does eventually get written, how impressive of a feat that's going to be. And I want her to be truly stellar. Like, not just another main character, but like a, you know, standout star of one. And maybe she won't be, maybe that won't end up being her full purpose in the story, since she is more of a loner than a leader. And she never does wrap around to that throughout the long and sordid history. She leads by example more than anything. And people kind of follow in her footsteps in their own specific way more than they, you know, do as she does or look to her directly. 'Cause honestly, nobody really wants to see that type of character right now, especially from a young, gifted lady. Sorry. That's just the truth. Spend 5 minutes looking at any video essays and you'll see exactly what I mean. And it's not just the people making the video essays, because if one of those is off, in this day and age, people will come and, you know, tear it to shreds. There was one guy who did something like that with Subnautica, like, oh, you know, the problems that Subnautica has and what they would like to see changed into. And they mentioned one particular thing that they thought Below Zero did better, and the entire comment section was just filled with people flaming that one segment of the essay and being like, no, that's, you know, that is really important to maintain the makeup of this game. So, when people are disagreeing with those popular opinions, there are signs. So I'm not just, you know, taken from random things and viewing them as law. Ugh. Freaking love that guy. W character. So what was I saying? How did that relate? Yeah, nobody wants to see that type of, you know, perfection, know-it-all sort of, you know. It's like, you want them to be flawed, and it's the same, it just wraps back around to Aspen Hotel, where now, because every character is so unbelievably flawed, and nobody has any admirable traits, besides, like, I guess Charlie is positive, but they frequently poke fun at her toxic positivity in certain ways. Angel Dust is confident, but they always, you know, throw that in with like, oh, it's all a facade, and they can never commit to anyone having genuinely good traits without cannibalizing them. with some joke, and it makes every single character there feel like a total waste of space. Even if there are, cute and quirky things about their personality, and it's like, yeah, I would not mind to be in a room with this person, but you're not gonna, like, look up to them more than you look up to someone like Goku. Like, there's not a single person on Earth who sees any character from Hazbin Hotel as kids see Goku. Like, that's just not a thing. It's not to say they're not comforting for some people, because they can kind of figure it out. And I've kind of found that too, where even a lot of horrible characters, what in the world? Is it a cooling thing? That is really cool. Nice job, jackass. Alright, I can't tell. Oh gosh. Oh, that's really bad. I was not paying attention. What I'm talking about is more important, though. So it's just finding that middle between a perfect character that knows it all, Rey from Star Wars, Korra from Korra, from Legend of Korra, question mark, I don't even know what that show's called, but you know exactly the one I'm talking about. So those two characters are widely reviled, even though their universes are great. Nobody likes them. Nobody. A couple people do. But those are always people who barely even know what they like about those shows. Alright, 4 people left. How about we take this to the top? The fact that people don't search these is hilarious to me. What's crazy is I kind of feel like I'd rather have the med kit right now, or the bandages. Wow, is there loot in here? Yeah, this is not the thing to be doing right now, man. So I think it wins someone, and I'm really hoping I can do it. No, I know I can do it. Of course I can do it. I'm that guy. When I figure out how to crack that code and give her that great balance between heroism and relatability, which a lot of the characters in the TV show do. TV show, it's a manga, you idiot. A lot of the characters in the manga do have a good balance, but a main character is a special type. I kind of want to wait this out as long as I can. That is super helpful right here. Yeah, so a main character is different. She has to be even more well-written and delicately drawn. My question is, where's the other moron here? See, that's just not knowing how to play this game. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Whatever. So, I mean, yeah. It's a game of figuring things out. And a very difficult one. So, I'm not even sure what my full point was on sharing all this. And, you know, what I wanted the overarching message to be of, like, because I remember when I started the stream, I was like, okay, I think I have something cool and important to say. And it's been a lot more, you know, rambling and a random rumination more than anything. But I guess it'll give me a chance to on thoughts a little more, understand them, since I understand things better by expressing them vocally. And the more I do that, the easier that becomes. And she's a really popular skin right now. I see why people have been wanting her forever. I mean, Jules is a great example of a character that people have wanted to see a lot of, because she kind of has the X factor everywhere. She looks relatable. She's not, you know, she has imperfections. But she's at least strong enough to prove herself as a daughter of the most admired person probably ever to walk any island, I would say, if you look at the fandom. If you're to run a popularity contest, I think it depends on what point in the story you're at, but overall, I think the people who are in the know the most and know the most about the game would veer towards Midas more than anyone else. But I guess that's a very small number of people. But he's always popular. I've never heard anything negative about him regarding the story besides the fraud watch allegations, which, with how they've done him, I don't know if I can fault them for. His bro is kind of a fraud. Can I shoot through this? Kinda. I had a friend whose favorite skin was that one. I don't remember if they were Twitter or what. That would have been back when it was Twitter too, which is the funny part. Alright, so I'm hearing that this is, yeah, I see what they mean. It's, pretty cracked. I mean, I'm not great with it, but certainly taking people apart. And I'm missing less shots with it than other guns. So, you know, good things. Alright, level 1, thought so. Whatever. Whatever. So yeah, I'm at a critical point where my story needs to start coming together, but it is the type of story that cannot be rushed. Lest I fall into the has-been hotel problem of kinda nothing turning out right. In spite of there being a lot of positive elements there to pull from, excuse me. What in the world? Does not how those work. Oh, you gotta be careful about that, because he gives me, pleasure. Since you master them, I guess they level up a little faster. It seems like. How about that? Good. Right. The Warforged, I've been liking that a little. So I'll take it with me. And I am sort of on crunch time now, where it's like, okay, this thing needs to get made, and I need to make strides in it, because a lot of the things that I'll consider like, oh, you know, this was like a new development that I was writing, I'll kind of look back and I'll say, this is nowhere near as new as I thought it was. These are things that I was coming up in 2023 and 2024, and that's kind of insane for me to think about. Because I don't really perceive time correctly at all. I don't know whether I'd blame that on trauma or something that's not that, but I'm sure that's a contributing factor. Oh boy. I don't know if I lost my duck sprite or not, but I don't think I care. And of course, nobody knows this chest exists. Oh, that's right. You can heal me too. Yeah, man, that is really slow. Darn. Harpoons are like super rare this season. Who knows, maybe this will be up here. Excuse you. What in the world? You got to go faster than that. Well, it's a good thing I found a vegetable. I'll take a first spin in the garden. Whee! So, I think, I mean, as much as I say, like, oh, you know, it is absolutely crunch time, and, you know, things need to get started in the story or they're never going to go anywhere, which, I mean, I guess, like, at absolute worst, I could just release a novelization of the first arc, and the main character has absolutely nothing to do with that, except the themes that that arc establishes, perpetrate towards the main character's purpose. So, like, I mean, there's that, but that doesn't really mean it can't stand on its own 2 feet as its own, part of the story. And I think in some ways, like, if we were in a much earlier era, that first arc can kind of stand on its own 2 feet as its own story completely. Okay. He better not turn around because he has no reason to. Beautiful. Jeez, dude, like, are you this bad at Fortnite? This is kind of pathetic.
I'm sorry.
Voyager, forgive me. I got clapped. That is the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. Oh well. So yeah, like I could release this like novelization early, but I would really rather just have it be drawn and done properly. Because it is, at the end of the day, designed to be visual. Actually, the visuals are kind of designed around the characters in the story. The story was written first, and I kind of planned on writing it like a book first, but within the first year or so, I kind of noticed that all of my picturings of it were very physical, that a lot of the emotion I was getting out of what I was seeing in my mind's eye was visceral art that paired along with the emotion of each scene. And I felt like it wasn't doing justice to keep it kind of trapped within the bounds of, you know, black and white paper, which is funny because manga is still black and white on paper, but just in a different flavor. Hilarious. So, where's the minis? Good there. I was gonna say, like, you're seriously gonna tell me that none of these bots have minis on them? That's adorable. I'm gonna ignore this guy. Hello, that's my name. Come on, Ramirez, you should have better aim than this. You're Mrs. Fortnite. I do think my ADS might be too slow. Maybe it's too fast. I don't really understand that yet. Not fully. Not even close. Alright, there's a little King Sprite, which is cute, but can't really use him right now. But I can use the medkit that's still in here. So yeah. But so, even though I am on what I'm calling crunch time, I still can't fully justify rushing things. Because I do think this story will change the lives of a few people at least. Ooh, that is really hard not to pick up. So it would help me win the game, but that's not really the goal of this season. Now is it? Okay, well first of all, that's beautiful. Kinda can't believe I just got that for free. I don't have to waste 2 big pots. I only have to waste 1. A person? What is that? Oh, it's Demon Sprite. Every time I see anything rare, I want to turn into Allie. Oh my gosh, guys, we just found the coolest Sprite. I miss loving him and his channel. I bought his skin way back when it came out. You're an idiot, you know that, right? You do? Okay, good. Just making sure. My gosh. Yeah, this is kind of ridiculously concerning. Why are there no heals of the white variety? Kind of funny that drinking this whole thing is my only option right here. Yeah, no. That darn diddly won't be happening today, Smithers. And yes, I put the character who says that is Flanders. That's not the point. If Flanders is saying it, he wouldn't be addressing himself. Especially in an argumentative fashion, which is why The Simpsons sucks at humor. Which is kind of rich coming from me. I've been wanting to seek out comedy movies to try and craft a, not really unique sense of comedy, but a sense of comedy that feels full in my series. Because, like, holy shit, like, my generation, the generation above me, apologize for the swearing, we do not know how to write comedy at all. They suck. None of them are funny. None of them make any funny jokes. I have not laughed at a single joke in a TV show in forever. Like, I said earlier that I was watching someone react to The Amazing Digital Circus, and the jokes there, like, the rate of hit and miss is ridiculous. It is like 1 hit for every 5 to 6 misses. There are some characters that just hit almost every time. Like, every time Kinger makes a joke, I laugh. Every single time. But I'm also kind of easy to please with that sort of humor. The one I'm thinking of is Brook from One Piece, where both him and Kinger have very predictable sorts of character humor, but I think both of their character humor is so dumb and funny that it works every time. So I'm a really big fan of both of those characters' jokes. That is really unfortunate for him. Oh my gosh. No, just extract. Look at that. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Actually, it did. A little wasteful, but yeah, so both those characters, I mean, just hit after hit with their jokes, in my humble opinion. But everyone else, like, they're just not funny. So I've just been racking my brain of, like, what do I even watch? Because I never really liked comedy movies. I thought it seems kind of shallow, just trying to get people to laugh with, look, he said the funny. I think when you try to make people laugh, it's harder to. I would know, because, you know, I kind of fit into that archetype of, oh, he's our little comedian when I was younger. And I was sometimes funny, but it kind of wrapped into me, like, trying to turn, just trying to make a joke at all times. And it's like, there doesn't always need to be a joke. And sometimes I'll kind of get in the mood where it's like, oh, I just want to keep cracking jokes. And then I'll kind of stop myself and be like, wow, that would really not land well. So naturally, I'm not a funny person, I would say. But every now and then I can, because a lot of my humor is deconstructive, and that's, like, really played out right now. Oh my gosh. These people are way off in their own little world of battling each other. Which means I've got to catch up to speed with them. Overdrive grenade. Dude, what do I do? I'm pretty confident about a win in this situation. I need to try and gatekeep healing items as much as possible. Crap, he seemed closer to the storm zone than I am. That's fine though. I'm trying to get in his head and understand how he's playing and thinking. Because he clearly wants to be against the storm, so I'm going to try and not let him force him out of his comfort zone. He also doesn't seem super comfortable building, which I'm not either, but I'm almost always uncomfortable when I play this game, so I force him to be, you know, maybe something good will come out of that. Because you can see, like, I'm not a good builder. So yeah, I straight up didn't even know he was in here. That means he's somewhere on the roof, which is not good. But also, okay, man. I was gonna say I don't think there's any way he's up here, which is really funny now, in retrospect. So he is clearly recognizing something that I did not. Got him up there. Okay, this is bad. Man, it is a good thing I know how to do this on an amateur level. Great stuff. Oh my gosh. So comedy. Trying to figure out how to find the funny. Oh my gosh, that was stressful. Are we serious? All that work and they're not gonna give me a master in my freaking duck. Kill me. No, they're just gonna call him level 4 and move on. Okay, we do finally have another waters. My gosh. I cannot fathom the type of human being that would purchase that with real money. Okay, be careful. Yeah, I kinda just did a whole lot of nothing. Oh my gosh, this freaking skin. I was so excited about this in concept, and then I kinda said, not gonna wear that. Really sucks, but that's the exact skin I loved when I was first playing Relic. Yeah, I mean, as far as dots go, I guess I have, but look at that. She's a cool skin. Man, victory crown. What a day. Level 27 too. If you know, you know. That's about it for me. So, appreciate anyone who dropped in if they did, and, you know. We've been cooking. We have been cooking. God bless.